The FP is a wacky, ridiculous indie film about these two rival gangs that battle for control over their town. It embodies the tropes of a lot of 80s action movies like Rocky, Rambo, The Karate Kid, and it's loaded with training montages, trash talk, shootouts, an absurd amount of profanity, some nudity, a lot of made-up slang, ridiculous costume and setting design, you name it. But the twist to this movie's premise is that the gangs battle each other by playing in a Dance Dance Revolution knockoff called Beat Beat Revelation. The Beat Beat Revelation battles, called beat-offs, are so intense that if you get owned hard enough, you die in real life. In this podcast, we're going to be going over the FP. We all just watched it. I'm about to start a plot summary, so there will be spoilers if you care about that. This movie is just a massive taking of the piss. I don't think spoilers ruin it that hard. If you know what it's about, you've kind of had the main meat of it spoiled. So probably not the end of the world if you watch it after listening to this podcast. But the movie opens on a scene that resembles the opening scene to 8 Mile, where the protagonist, J-Tro, is in the bathroom getting ready to hype himself up for a beat-off. And I'm dropping pictures of the graffiti-infested, rundown bathroom where he's looking himself in the mirror. You can compare that to the opening scene from 8 Mile. Clearly inspired.
The first word I noticed on the wall was cock.
Oh yeah.
So that sort of becomes telling of this movie.
Setting the tone. The tone. So J-Tro is hyping himself up in the bathroom. J-Tro and his brother B-Tro from the 248 are getting ready for their beat-offs versus their rival gang, the 245. J-Tro goes out there first. He wins his beat-off, but his older brother B-Tro dies in battle. He loses his beat-off. He dies on the pad, and we get this iconic shot of the camera looking down over J-Tro, looking up and screaming "No!" over his brother's dead body. He swears he'll never play Beat Beat Revelation ever again, and he goes off. He disappears for a year. He goes off into the woods to work as a lumberjack. So that's the setup for our protagonist, J-Tro. In the meantime, when he leaves, LWE, who is the leader of the 245, who killed his brother B-Tro in a beat-off, has taken over the town because he inherited his dad's liquor mart. So now LWE, the bad guy, controls all the alcohol in the FP. Nobody drinks unless LWE says so. So there's no drunks. If there's no drunks, there's no
God.
If there's no bums, there's nobody to feed the ducks.
No
and
one to
what's
feed
in
the
town
ducks!
without ducks? So that's the plot. The problem is when people can't get drunk, the town can't function, primarily because there's no bums to feed the ducks. So, quote the movie, shit's all fucked up in the FP. And KCDC, a member of the 248, the good guys, he goes and he finds J-Tro working as a lumberjack. And he's like, J-Tro, shit's all fucked up in the FP, dog. You gotta come back. They have it out. He reminds him of the old times. He convinces J-Tro to come back. And I'm dropping another screenshot of one of my favorite little details in this movie. In KCDC's car, there's a what's it called, hanging from the rearview mirror that says "I Heart Jesus," which is just such a contrast to the tone of this movie, because there's so much profanity. They use the N-word a lot. I want to talk about that later. That's the whole thing. But anyway, J-Tro comes back. They meet up with BLT, who's like this old guru from the old days, a friend of B-Tro's, who runs J-Tro through all sorts of training arcs and montages and challenges to get him hyped up, to have beat-off battles to take the town back. There's a whole B plot with a romantic interest who J-Tro flirted with in the beginning. Her name's Stacy. Now she's with LWE. She's only with him because he controls the alcohol, and she needs to get her dad alcohol so he doesn't turn to meth and turn to bad stuff. Here's a screenshot of Stacy's dad dropping in.
Stacy's dad has got
his nipple out. I read that the guy who plays Stacy's dad agreed to wear anything as long as he could have his nipple exposed. That's lore, production value lore. So they made him out to be a sort of transgender looking character. This movie came out in 2011, so that's it's keeping in mind how the culture has changed over the last decade is one of the interesting aspects to me of rewatching this. Because I watched this when it came out in 2011. It was relatively successful for a small indie film like this. They almost recouped their budget. They spent $45K on it. They made $40K. It was screened at South by Southwest. If someone made this movie in modern day, it would probably not be screened at South by Southwest. Mostly the use of the N-word, I think, is clearly a joke. Clearly not. but the conversation for that has changed, I think, for the better. So knowing the time this came out and keeping that in mind when you watch it, I think it's okay. But I found out about this because it was posted on a forum for DVR players I frequented when the preview came out. And when I saw the preview, I literally did not believe this was a real movie. I was like, I don't know how this exists, but it can't be real. It was hilarious. It was unbelievable. That was like almost 10 years ago. I rewatched it last night, and it's fucking incredible. So let's go ahead. And,
the movie kind of reminded me of that fake Pokemon movie trailer where Ash became like the champion and is now like a hardcore Pokemon master who gets involved in gang fights, and all the Pokemon are like done in CGI. And it looks terrible, but this movie reminds me very much of that trailer, that fake trailer. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but
I have not seen that one.
Look up Pokemon realism trailer movie thing, and it's a pretty funny thing to watch in your spare time. It's fucking hilarious.
Detective Pikachu, I think, is the name of that one.
No. They should have named it Pokemon Realism. I like that better. That is a stupendous name.
But no, like the visual design of this movie is something to behold, and definitely, like, I'm not even someone who really recognizes, at least I don't think I do, time period pieces sort of thing. Yeah, that's what I said. And this movie is so early 2000s, it's not even. In fact, it's extremely funny. I couldn't stand it. It was fucking amazing.
In an interview I watched just before this, they asked the brothers Trost to about the aesthetic of the movie, and they said it was like the future of the 80s. So like what you would think the future would look like in the 80s, but kind of dystopian in a like small town trailer trash area.
Like if the 80s never went away.
if they just faltered and died. He says, quote, "Is it white trash? Is it the future? Is it anime? I don't know."
Is this what it's like, Alex? Is this how the DDR scene exists?
You can die in real life. That's important to know. People have the exact same attitudes as the people in this film, I think. So yeah, it's very, very realistic, very true to life.
Little did we know this is actually a true story.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely liked the dramatization of everything. That was probably my favorite aspect of the movie. The animation of the whole plot and everything.
The humor from this really comes from the fact that they are so committed to playing characters with like deadpan serious energy that are saying and doing the most ridiculous things. And that monologue in the beginning about no drunks to feed the ducks, where KCDC is giving that monologue and he's like about to burst into tears because of the drugs and the ducks. It's so they're so committed.
God.
Yeah, no, the acting
that was the best
like,
part of the whole
really
movie.
Good.
Oh yeah, it's honestly, when it comes to acting, I feel like that's a hard subject to quantify in this context because it's like it's so obviously corny and over the top. It's like this is just bad. But then when you really think about it, it takes a lot of fucking energy and a lot of talent to pull off a over the top performance such as anyone in this movie. It's amazing. I have to give this movie like at least an A- for acting because it's so fucking energetic.
So, Friggin,
oh shit.
Friggin, what was your impression? Go ahead and jump in here.
There was a lot of parts of this I really enjoyed. There was a few where I felt like it was kind of dragging too long. Like, I don't know, like some of the jokes just sort of overstayed their welcome, if you know what I mean. But on the whole, I thought it was pretty good. It reminds me a little bit of, do you remember that like YouTube short film that was huge like 5 or 6 years ago? Kung Fury. The one where the guy like travels back in time and like karate fights Hitler and his giant robot or something like that.
Can't say
I'm not familiar with that one, but that sounds on base.
It was so Kung Fury is like this, but not as good. This was a better version of that, and I appreciate that. Like this, you know, this is like a real film. They put more effort into it. It's not all just like CGI stuff that 4 dudes did. It's like, you know, a whole real movie. And just in general, I have a lot of respect for these like small cinema house productions where it's just like minuscule budget and just whoever they could get together to make a real feature length film. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so I'm very interested to hear your behind the scenes of this, because that's what I'm really fascinated in.
Beautiful,
like
beautiful
the making
segue.
of.
I was about to go there. Go ahead, Ryan.
Was this like commercially marketed or anything? Because I feel like I've heard of this before. Like I feel like I heard of this when it came out, but I don't know how I would have. I can't imagine this was like anywhere.
They released a preview for it, mostly for advertising the South by Southwest screening, I think. And it played in some theaters. What I heard from interviews and whatnot is they kept it very, very under wraps while it was finished because they wanted to they wanted it to be done and like drop it with a bang, you know, announce it when they had stuff to show. I think in the interviews they said like you have one chance to wow people and like a billion chances to disappoint them. So I don't know too much. I don't think it was very aggressively marketed, but it was at like I said, South by Southwest and some theaters and some film festivals. Early 2011.
Because I feel like I can't imagine there are any other like DDR centric movies, right? I mean, I know like DDR has like popped up in like, you know, random scenes of movies and stuff, just like from the early 2000s, but
I don't know how you could make a DDR movie without it being something like this, just as far as the plot goes.
That's why it was so unbelievable to me. Like literally when I saw the preview for this, I did not believe it existed because I was playing these games as like my primary hobby at the time, really into it. And I always thought of it as like, people don't know about this, you know, this thing, it's like this sort of hidden in plain sight thing that I do that people might know the game exists, but they don't really get it. And then there's an action movie about it, which is like over the top ridiculous. It blew my mind.
Yourself as the protagonist?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm thinking about just gouging out one of my eyeballs so I can wear an eye patch and be J-Tro. And
you know, you can
montages.
You can wear an eye patch without gouging out that eye, right?
I'm a method actor.
Gotta dedicate yourself to the bit.
I would never be a fake. Jason Trost is blind in one eye in real life, so the eye patch is not just part of his costume, although it works perfectly as part of that. So I want to talk about. Do you have one more thing to say?
No, I was just gonna say like just that immediately, like his character design, like his outfit. It's just like he has an eye patch, no explanation. He just has an eye patch. It's
totally on base for this movie. So getting into what this is and why this exists, I read a little bit about the history of it. So Jason Trost, he conceptualized this in like 2002 because he played DDR a lot and was really, really into action movies. Like I mentioned, a bunch of 80s action movies, Rambo, Rocky. A lot of this, you can really see the parallels between this and Rocky. And he grew up in the FP. The FP is a real place, Fraser Park. It is in California near Los Angeles, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just like this tiny bumfuck town of like 2,000 people. And that's where they filmed it, you know, mostly just like on their, I think their dad's property or something. And a lot of the slang in this movie, they said it was very, very inspired by just real things they had heard from people saying in Fraser Park. They mentioned that,
Yo, bitch, motherfucking, hey, what's up, bitch ass motherfucking bitch of mother.
"That's my D, you cheating potato sprout bitch. He's just gonna get
Oh my
capped one day.
God.
He's killing for a killing. He's got one of them mugs." But they said it's based on this idea of like kids, teenagers that grow up in bumfuck nowhere, and they have this idea of like what it's like to be a tough kid, like a gang member, like a thug from a big city, from Detroit or wherever, and they're just like, because they've seen 8 Mile or whatever, and they're just like living out this fantasy and trying to act tough. Apparently they grew up around a bunch of kids like that, and so there were people who talked like this. He said he showed the movie, well, they exaggerated it, of course, but he said he showed the movie to like people he grew up with in Fraser Park, and they were like finishing some of the lines having never seen the movie because they just heard, you know, "What are you for Halloween, a bitch?" type slang. I love, that's my favorite quote from this movie, probably. But so yeah, inspired by the real place, Fraser Park, and fake tough guys that live there. Their father, Ron Trost, was the special effects supervisor on this movie because he had prior experience as the special effects supervisor on the Mortal Kombat movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. So they were very much raised on movies. Their dad was a professional
You're talking
special
about
effects
his
movie guy.
brother right now, right?
His
Brandon?
dad. His
His
dad.
dad.
I don't
okay.
think Brandon and Jason, I don't think they're brothers in real life, because Jason Trost is J Tro's real name. I think Brandon is no, Brandon Trost. Yeah, they are real life brothers.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna
their
say,
sister was
it
the
says here on
costume
Wiki.
designer. Yeah. So it's very much a family production thing, and that's, in some ways, they were able to save budget. They said they got some guy they know to do the soundtrack, completely original soundtrack. Said he hated techno before that, but they convinced him. They made him listen to all this techno, and he made all the Beat Revelation techno songs and whatnot.
That was another thing I loved about this movie. Like, if I don't get anything out of this, the music was so good. I love the music.
Absolutely.
Like, I do not listen to that sort of shit, but just like it's synced with the movie. It was such a fun experience to listen to the music alone.
I was gonna ask about that. I assumed it was like commissioned from someone who made like I don't know what you'd call like the track, like the custom like DDR mod tracks or whatever. I assumed it was like somebody in that scene.
I don't think it was somebody from the scene. They just mentioned this offhand in one of the interviews I watched. But like I said, Jason Trost played DDR a lot at like the height of its fad popularity in 2002, and the guy who did the music, I think, was just some other guy from Fraser Park or some guy they knew. So maybe he was, you know, familiar with these games authentically in the same way J-Tro was. Not sure on that. But the next really, really interesting thing I want to talk about is the costume designs and the Civil War tie-ins in this movie. So, if you didn't catch it, the 248 are the good guys from the north side of the FP. Good guys north. The 245 are the bad guys from the south of the FP, from the south side.
That's where all those references.
Here's a quote. I have it somewhere. Oh, where is it? Where's the quote? "You got to think of Beat Revelation like it was a civil war. 40 and a couple of years ago, Maul and Paul fought for some serious shit." So, but the costumes they wear are influenced by the Civil War armies. So I'm going to drop some screenshots of costumes. Here is LWE, whose costume resembles the uniform of the Confederate General Robert E. Lee. Here's a side by side of the two of them. You can see
I was paying special attention to his headband.
The gold plates on the shoulders, and his headband looks like the belt from the, you see, it's like gold in the center with a red outline. So the 245 from the south are like, they look like the Confederacy, and these two guys, their names are what's
Robert
his name?
E. Lee, right?
Well, LWE for
Lee.
Lee. The guy's real name is Lee. The one guy, I just dropped a screenshot of these two lackeys, like LWE's sidekick Tweedledee and Tweedledum guys. one of them, they both look like rednecky people from the South because
Yes.
the one guy, I'm not going to say his name because he has the N-word in his name, and I'm just going to be paranoid about that and not say it, but it's Suga N-word. And then the other guy is Beatbox Busta Bill.
You know,
And he carries a
couldn't you just
beatbox.
bleep that stuff out?
Are you guys going to edit the audio?
I'm not gonna.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I might as well just not. say
I'd
it.
hate to get
Alright.
demonetized. You know, I do this for a living. But Beatbox Busta Bill, Suga, hilarious. They look like rednecks, raccoon hat, and they're lackeys of the leader of the 245, and the leader is dressed like Robert E. Lee, and is named Lee. And then here's the costumes of the 248, the good guys, which they kind of resemble the Union outfits, basically just in the sense that they're dark blue and they're like black and dark blue and kind of monotone, or not monotone, but monolithic like that, just mostly one color. So here's them next to John Pope, which was one of the Union generals. They're wearing these tracksuit looking things that just zip up. They're dark blue and black. The Union Army uniform was kind of just a straight dark navy or black uniform, and they have like stars on the back. A lot of the imagery in this, and especially in the costume design, is Civil War inspired, which I think is hilarious and cool.
I definitely got that. Like, you didn't even have to tell me that, and I could have come up with that myself.
Yeah.
The costume design is very well thought of, and I definitely I didn't literally think, oh, Civil War, but like I definitely got that feeling just from the symbols that they use and the colors. Like their sister, what's her name?
Sarah Trost, costume designer.
Sarah. She's got to be doing something nowadays because she has really well consideration for colors.
I believe, yeah, she's still doing this. She's a professional costume designer. I saw that. I didn't make a note of exactly what she's doing, but this is definitely what she does. And she killed it with this movie. They were, especially because it was like super low budget, and they were trying to, as much as possible, just use stuff they had around. A lot of thrift store trips, I think. Here's one of KCDC with his like American flag bandana, which this guy, I love this guy as a character. He's incredible.
Oh yeah.
He's the announcer guy in the movie, and I like how sometimes he just pulls his microphone out in like context when he shouldn't have it. Like they're fighting in the parking lot. They're not even in the venue, and he just pulls out his microphone. It's like, oh shit, we gotta throw down or something. It's like, how is he hooked up to the sound system? But he's all decked out in American garb. I didn't grab a screenshot of it, but like there's one of the extras in the background, like, dancing and groping some girl's tits or whatever, that's like shirtless, and he has like a giant arrow drawn in Sharpie, like pointing down to his pants. The general, the way this movie looks is hilarious. It's like these battles take place in this, perfectly constructed hood rat club for like, low life gang member type peoples that are partying and dancing and all this shit, and then they die playing beat Revelation beat offs and pull out their Glocks and fight. It's hilarious.
I actually just thought of the fact that there's a thrift shop in this movie, and I am very well convinced to believe that they get all of their clothes from the thrift shop, like in the movie, like
in the lore.
The lore. Like,
well, that's
I can imagine a lot of their clothing, because it's like all oldie inspired kind of stuff, and the fact that they're all cheap and they're probably not making any money.
Because Stacy invites J-Tro on basically a date to go shopping, and they go to the thrift store, which is seeing the outside of this. It looked like part of it was like a tent. It was the universe of this film. I wonder how much of it is real, but and then they're walking around in the actual thrift store. Oh, it's lovely. It's incredible. I love it.
I almost wish they dedicated to the bit a little bit more in the fact that like I want like every single decision to be made through like DDR battles. Like when J-Tro or whatever was like trying to get Stacy out of her place, and like her dad came out like with the fucking like electric fly swatter thing. I really wanted him to like hop into the trailer and like You know what I mean? Like he's got
They
like a
just
cabin.
whip it out like they're fighting, like a fist fight could break out anywhere, but a beat off breaks out
Yeah.
anywhere. That is one thing that's kind of funny about this movie is there weren't really that many beat offs. There were
No,
only
dude,
like
what, 3 times?
4 or 5, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, no,
5
yeah.
tops.
I mean,
There
there's like
was
in the montage she's playing it, but I don't think there's that many actual battles.
there's the one where
that's one of
Beatro
the-
dies. Let's see. There's the
Yeah.
one where Jatro plays in the beginning. The one where Beatro dies after that. The one Jatro has to do to get street cred. And then the one where he defeats LWE in the end. That's 4. Those are the ones I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
think that's
basically it. I mean, I would
Oh, but
say
they're so
yeah.
good.
I want to stop me if this is going too far, but or getting too far ahead. But like, I think that was the one thing about this movie that was pretty ill-conceived was the concept. It definitely seemed to go more for style and substance than what they actually wanted to do with the movie, if not for style and substance. Because the story itself, like he said himself, is like inspired off of like Rocky and Rambo and other movies such as that. It's a very generic story, and they don't really do much with it. The fact that it's only an hour and a half long kind of shows for it.
Yeah, I think that's a legitimate criticism. I think that's a popular criticism from the Rotten Tomato reviews I glanced over. I don't know. For me, it's just hilarious that this movie is like simple setup. Someone dies, you got to go beat the bad guy, and then it's just like training montages and arguments and fights with the most absurd language and costumes. It's
Yeah.
like not a masterpiece, but nothing else could be this. You
Well,
really, if you
yeah.
haven't watched this and you're listening to this, like you have to watch it to get it. They
You
didn't
do.
really
do.
do anything with it. They didn't like take it that far, but it's nothing else could be like this, I feel like. It's definitely like an amalgamation of just the stuff they liked from Rocky movies and movies like that, and just like crammed into this ridiculous premise and aesthetic.
Yeah, and it was actually really unfortunate where at the very beginning, after the 1 year time skip, it just kind of seemed like pointless because they don't even do anything with that 1 year time skip. He's just lumberjacking, and then the guy's like, "Hey, come back," and he's like, "Okay."
No, man, shit got all fucked up during that year. The liquor mart, the Ducks.
It's
the
guess.
Ducks,
it's
man. The
crucial.
Ducks.
Okay, so I want to
I
talk
guess,
about
yeah,
the
you're right. Never mind. That was a terrible criticism. Forget
that
what I said.
yeah, I think they pulled that one out. So one kind of costume design related thing. I had one more screenshot I wanted to drop of the snow boots. These
Oh my
in
God,
real
these
life, what
things.
these are that they took to use as a prop in the movie are snow expedition boots. These are like if you're hiking through waist deep snow, you would wear these. And these were Beatro's boots that he wore when he died, that Jatro inherits and trains in. This was like the thing that stood out to me the most when I saw the previews. Like, what the heck are those? Like triple sized mega boots that he's playing in. So those are absurd. Those are kind of part of the costume. Oh, side note, I had this exact DDR pad that they're playing on. This was like the first metal pad that I owned. So that's cool.
Sick.
They're bad.
Question.
They're real
Shit.
bad. Yeah.
Would
what's up?
those boots actually make you better at playing the game in real life? Or would they get in the way?
Dude, I play in socks ideally, or like minimal shoes. Some people play in like running shoes, shoes with like a fairly big sole on them, but like running shoes. I think in general people just play in typical running shoes, or they do what I do and go for the I want less on my feet as opposed to snow expedition boots. This is like the exact
I mean,
opposite.
Those are gonna really stiff up your legs. Like they're gonna make you very inflexible.
They look so powerful though. And apparently Jatro like rolled his ankle or something during the filming of this. So the
Okay.
fact that they were coincidentally already using these boots like worked really well for him when he was doing these scenes with a hurt ankle. It gave him some stability.
Yeah, but
So-
wouldn't you think that the boots possibly gave him such issue?
Who knows? I don't know how it happened. It could be that. I'm not sure how many times they had to reshoot the beat offs. Here's from the training montage. One of my favorite like icons from the training montage is the tires. where they
Oh,
set
yeah.
up four tires, just like a tire, a left, right, down tire, and he's like jumping his feet in and out of the tires to train.
Yeah,
And
that was gold.
he like trips and falls, and by the end he's jumping through them. And this, by the way, this is all in like their secret underground lair headquarters.
Oh my god.
They have
the
to
lair
light
is
torches
fucking awesome.
and walk through
I
the basement to
love
get
this
to.
lair so much.
The
It's
scene
such
where
a
they get the
good-
torches, and they're going down the hallway, and then like 10 feet later, they put the torches out.
Yeah, because there's just light.
I love how there's just like this weird like puddling waterfall like in the middle of it, and there's like it's got like rocks surrounding it, I think. And there's like
Yeah,
a
it's like
bridge
fountain
over
type
it.
thing.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
why this is like the most serene, like but like trashy looking sanctuary I've ever
It's the
seen.
secret underground headquarters. It's incredible. They got a bench press down there that he trains on. They've got a punching bag, and at the beginning of the montage, he's punching it, and a CRT TV that's hooked up to the punching bag says like "pussy bitch" or some shit. And then later on, he's punching it, and it says "legit." ... and all these other things.
Amazing.
Oh man. I forget what it said, but after the scene where someone spiked J-Tro's drink and he's like waking up because he's like sick or whatever, he's hooked up to a CRT that's like going through these fake medical check things. It's in the background. You have to like pause to see it, but it says
Yeah.
something like toe realignment complete. And then, like, a bunch
There was
of-
like a scorpion bite.
yeah, or like
I was really thrown off at
negative
that
or
point.
whatever. Real like the so many details. Oh, it's so rich and deep, this movie. But also in the training montage, I wanna talk about the condom joke, which is hilarious.
Oh my god.
So there's a scene where in the training montage, J-Tro is pushing a car. BLT, the old guru who's training him, is saying like, "I need Speedtro. Where's that guy at? Show me Speedtro." And then LWE and his cronies and some like stripper looking chicks they have hanging out in the back of a pickup truck drive by. They throw a condom at J-Tro.
A used condom.
Used condom. So they probably took a condom, like filled it up with milk. It hits him in the side of the face, and then he like rages and starts, Speedtro shows up and starts pushing the car.
I refuse to believe that's a milk-filled condom.
They probably just they're very committed to the bit. I wouldn't
Oh,
doubt if they
no.
method acted. But then it comes this mute for the next 20 seconds if you don't want one of the best jokes of this spoiled. This is probably like the one spoiler that matters. Jump ahead. But and like don't look at the video. But at the end, here's the spoiler. At the end, after LWE is defeated and he doesn't quite die, but he's lying on the ground in disbelief, and someone throws a used condom at him in the middle of the foundation. You can see, I didn't even notice in the screenshot, that girl who always has her tits out is in the background of this, getting groped.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
man. That was one of the shocking parts of seeing the preview. Is like, okay, the first half of the preview is like they have beat off BBR battles where people die, and I'm already like, what the fuck is this movie? And then the second half of the official trailer, they start pulling out guns and shooting at each other. Meanwhile, there's this guy just groping this girl's tits in the background, uncensored. It's absurd. This movie is so over the top. Oh man. Yeah, so I had that. The only other screenshots I have, I think, are of the beautiful ending scene. Where
Beautiful.
J-Tro and Stacy are having a romantic moment at the lake. And the camera pans up and you can see the ducks flying overhead to indicate the drunks are back, the ducks are back. Everything's all right in the FP. Now you see. Oh man.
Oh my
You
god,
guys-
the ducks are back.
You guys did see the post-credit scene, right?
What?
Yeah, there's the duckies.
It's just like that same river they're standing in front of right there, and there's ducks.
The ducks is back.
The ducks are back.
There was a mobile game for this movie at some point. I just
No
remembered,
way.
which I like
What?
downloaded and saw. It was in the iOS App Store. I don't remember like anything about it.
Wait, no fucking shit. Dude, holy fuck, dude, wait, maybe that's why I
Is that
remember
what
this
you
name.
played?
Was it like it was like a touch rhythm game, right?
Probably the only thing I remember about it is like the credit scene. Oh man, I
it might
don't.
be something else, but
I'm
There was
googling
this-
it, and I
There
can't
was this
find
game
it.
I used to play on iOS. It was like no, that was Tap Tap Revolution. Never mind.
Tap Tap Revenge. Yeah, no, I played
Same
that.
difference.
Yeah.
I'm gonna search in because I'm googling it and I'm not getting good results. I'm searching the
Yeah.
App Store right now to see if it's still.
That shit's
I'm
gone, bro.
100% certain that
That shit's gone.
Apple
bro.
would not allow that on the App Store these days.
I don't remember if it
Maybe
had the
back
N-word in
then,
it.
They would
but
have pulled it by now. It's just too old. Like no one's supporting that shit.
No, there's stuff in there that hasn't been support. Well, I don't know, but I'm not seeing it. But it did exist. I wish I had more lore on that because that's interesting and hilarious.
Does it
there's this-
cost anything? Like, does it cost anything for? Sorry, I'm just quick question,
Go.
not to get sidetracked. But like, does it cost anything to keep an app like up on like the App Store or anything? Because like stuff gets pulled like all the time.
I'm sure.
No, I don't know if it costs anything to keep an app. For Apple anyway, you have to have like a developer license. I think you
Mm.
might have to pay like $100 a year to be able to publish things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have no idea if there's a fee for like keeping them up.
so I guess that would be as many apps as you want, but it's $100 a year to keep them up there.
Dude, this is like the new Flappy Bird. Like I shouldn't have deleted it. I can't get it now. My phone would be worth so much. My like oldest phone. Oh,
Flappy
God.
Ducks, my dude, they're back.
Flappy
Okay,
Bird.
so I just through some googling, I was gonna mention this before actually. So what this movie reminded me of in particular, is like the plots of both fighting games as well as beat 'em ups. Specifically, like King of Fighters is sort of relevant in this, and also like I just looked it up. I just looked up like just looking up like Beat of Revelation or whatever. I noticed that there's a second movie apparently that came out in
There is a
2018,
sequel.
and it's called Beats of Rage, which would be a reference to Streets of Rage.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought that might have just been an inkling that I had that like, oh, it just kind of is reminiscent of beat 'em up like plots because it's just like an over the top action movie, which those are basically based on anyway. Like those games are primarily based in roots of like those absurdist action movies. So but yeah, just like mainly like the eye patch, like the costumes and everything, and just like the over top dramaticness of like and like the strippers and all that shit, like just like all the back alleys and you know all that stuff of just like absurd fighting and all that just reminded me a lot of like beat 'em ups.
Street Beat. Yeah, I didn't find anything specifically mentioning video games other than DDR in the interviews I saw and the stuff I read about this movie. But considering that these guys are like super into action movie, like macho trope crap, the fact that they were playing DDR at the height of its bad popularity, I associate like growing up in a small town like they did with getting into, you know, if you have a local arcade or anything, like if you have video games and movies, you get way into that. There's no way these guys weren't like deep into all of that.
Probably,
Definitely
yeah.
movies. Surely they loved the beat 'em up aesthetic, the Street Fighter aesthetic, all of that.
Yeah.
Probably every single game they had in their local arcade, you know?
Definitely, yeah. If they had one, the
I mean,
Fraser Park's population is like 2,700 people, so I don't know what's going on there.
Did this movie make that town famous?
It's more famous than it ever has been, I'm sure. We should go visit.
Let's do it.
It's near, like I said, it's near Los Angeles, is that right? Fraser Park, California. It's near, yeah, it's like down the highway from LA.
Oh, I was gonna say the his brother Brandon. I was just looking at his filmography. He's actually the cinematographer of everyone's favorite, The Disaster Artist.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Did anyone
Dude.
see that?
Give me a rundown of Disaster Artist. I'm not sure.
It was like my third favorite movie of that year. It was.
Oh yeah, was it really big?
What do you mean? Like
Was
oh
it-
like
was Like commercial success? Is it? Did it?
oh yeah. It got I think it got Best Picture at the Golden.
Oh shit! What was his role on that? What was Beatro's role?
He was the cinematographer of the
Hmm.
movie.
Hell yeah. Good
which
for them.
I think is really good. Like the I don't want to get into I don't want to get into the disaster artist right now, but considering that he was a cinematographer, he got to a point where he's making movies for James Franco. I think that's a pretty big leap. So this guy's legit.
There you go, man. Got his foot in the door with the FP. He's out there making dreams.
Now that's one thing I like about these like small art house type movies is just like, you know, it's like that's how you get into the big leagues if you're from nowhere, is you make like small budget but serious movie like this. Well, you know what I mean? Like, it, by serious I mean it is a movie with a movie length runtime and movie length production quality.
Oh yeah, and their mastery of making it look like it had better production value than it did. This is something they've talked about in interviews. It's like, we had very limited budget, you know, very limited everything. We had to make it look better than what we actually had, and apparently that was like a big part of their strategy, or the way they saw their approach and what they were doing. And I think they knocked it out of the park with that. Like,
I think that has a lot to do with the cinematography, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
the
I remember
cinematography, the
seeing
camera
the
work,
beginning
all
of
of it
the
was
movie.
great.
Like, just the beginning of the movie, I honestly, like, I thought there were I don't know if this will be considered a compliment or a insult, but I thought that J Jatro,
Retro? Yeah,
I thought he was CGI for a minute.
What?
I don't know what it was, but
dude,
it was
just the lighting and
the lighting and
aesthetics.
his textures.
No.
I don't know. I just thought, like, what the hell? Why is he CGI right there? And then I'm like, oh wait, no. And I also thought this guy looks like I thought he was a young Jack Kurt Russell.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. Kurt Russell was in Escape from New York with an eye patch and everything.
Yeah,
And that was right around that time period. So
Yeah.
I've never seen the two of them in the same room at the same time, so I have no proof.
well, Kurt Russell's like 40 years older than him. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of Kurt Russell and I see what you mean now. Yeah.
yeah,
Like, he definitely had the hair and the
like
eye
in
patch from that one
1980, he
movie.
looked the same.
Which is when this movie happened, maybe? Question mark.
So
God.
I don't know. Like, I honestly don't. I haven't seen that many like 80s era action movies. But like, how many of them have like text intros like that, like this?
The Star Wars thing that we had.
Well, yeah, I
in
mean,
this
yeah.
movie and in Streets of Rage.
I mean, it's certainly not a Star Wars thing. Like I mean, you know, obviously Star Wars wasn't the first to do it. I can't name off the top of my head like a bunch of movies that have done it, but I assure you that plenty of movies, I'm sure, do it.
I mean, does Fight Club do that? Does like?
I don't know. Fight Club is on a
Because
yeah,
I
that's
think
Kurt Russell.
because the way that they do it, I think that specific thing could definitely be a reference to Streets of Rage.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah.
I mean, it's also just I mean, it's a very simple you know, plot summary. Like for the budget, it's like, you know, how do we get the story going? You know, it's like, okay, let's just give them this little bit of information.
Yeah,
It's very simple.
Yeah, like
Rival
lower
gang
tier 80s action movies tend to have those text scrolls. Like, the first thing that comes to mind is like The Running Man. Anytime it's like it's a weird setup and they need to just explain it really quick so you can jump into it. It happened a lot with sci-fi, because they're like, oh, we got to set up this world,
Yeah.
but we're too lazy to world build because it's the 80s. So read this and then watch movie.
So much better than an anime exposition.
Yeah.
You just do your pre-reading and then you go.
There's a thought in my head and I'm trying to get it out. So it's just, I will say one thing. The one thing about that text scroll is that it looked very shitty.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, after watching
Yeah,
the movie and going
most
back to that
graphics were not.
the opening credits, I'm like, they did not try very hard on the credits. It just looks really sloppy and janky. And then you go straight into mini Kurt Russell, and it's like, what? What's going on?
come on, guys! Like Windows Movie Maker existed in 2011. Like I could have done that.
Right.
Opening
Sorry.
crawl.
Just for like the tone of the rest of the movie. Like the tone of the movie is very stylized. The fact that the text was red is kind of disingenuous to the color theme of the rest of the movie. Like there's not a lot of reds unless like the main antagonist is there, or if they're like in a very colorful area. The overall color of the movie, I'd say, is like blue, black,
Very blue.
Neon.
neon.
All colors
Yeah,
of neon.
yeah. But yeah, just the fact that they used red just kind of seemed like a lazy choice. And like the font was pretty bad. It made it looked almost like horror movie-ish.
I don't know about the font for like the intro, but the font that they used for like the logo and like the outro character roles, like where the actors, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it looked like it was like Fast and the Furious or something. Like it was like
Oh! I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I totally get that.
it was like a really generic font. I think it might have been like taken from something else or like almost directly. Like it might have been in either in reference to something or literally just they're like, let's just use this font that other movie has already used.
No, I think it's much more stylized for the sake of the movie itself. I
Well,
think
you-
it definitely enhanced the
Great.
movie's tone.
This looks exactly like the sort of thing they'd open in like an 80s action movie with, like for sure.
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna just have to watch more of those movies at some point.
I'm totally down. Yeah.
Gonna go watch
that font and color and everything is very Fast and Furious. For the end credits there, I just looked at it. Yeah.
I think it's
Well,
the
also, I guess Fast and Furious was getting big about the time this movie came out, huh? Like that's when like maybe like 3 and 4 and maybe 5 were coming out,
no, 5 was like
or not
15
5,
or something.
but like the third or fourth one. Like
But yeah.
What are they up to now? Are they actually up to 9?
Yes,
holy shit.
dude.
I didn't know if that was
I
a
am
joke from Nate's video or if they
I
were
am
literally
literally
on
letting
9.
you know right now. Fast and Furious is my fucking shit. I will not hear anyone's stance otherwise. It is the best fucking series of the entire world. It's my
Nice.
ultimate guilty pleasure.
Anyway.
Fast and Furious is, as someone who's only seen like
Oh,
the 3
shit.
most recent ones, like I know that there's like it's like deep lore and like it's like a very coherent series, and you do get a lot more out of it than by watching the whole thing than just individual ones. Like it's a lot. It's Mission Impossible with cars. That's pretty much all it is. It's
Yeah.
Mission Impossible with cars.
It's stupid. It's so stupid. I don't care. I
doesn't-
fucking love it.
For, off topic a little bit. The end of Hobbs and Shaw with the tow trucks and the helicopter. Oh my god.
Oh god.
They're ridiculous movies, but they're fun.
They have heart. They have
Someday
family.
we'll have to do crash content.
Oh
Fast
yes, we will. Oh, I'm hosting that one for sure.
But back on topic, FP.
yes.
Any other interesting tidbits, Alex?
Yeah, any production behind the scenes stuff?
I'm kind of tapped out on notes I had written. The only thing that I was thinking I had stuff to say was about like their use of the N-word and extremely offensive stuff, and like how
Yeah.
the movie, if it came out today, would probably not be screened at South by Southwest. I don't feel like there's that much to say about that, though. I kind of mentioned in the beginning, it's just important to like think about how in 2011 it was a lot more acceptable to use the not hard R N-word clearly as a joke in a non-racial context in a movie like this. Now
Yeah.
the conversation is a little bit different, and like I think it's fine. It sort of reflects that shift. So you know, don't cancel this movie. It's funny. It's a piece from its time.
Hang on.
Agreed.
Hang on. I'll be right back.
It's
Gotta-
By
not a
time
racial
you mean-
thing.
It's
It's
by
an
time you mean
acronym.
the 80s or the 2010s?
All of the whole up until
Yes.
pre 2012. But just remember, it's not a racial thing. It's an acronym for
Never.
never ignorant, getting goals accomplished.
That's right.
That was another mind blowing thing about seeing the preview for this. It's like on top of everything else, Why is that word in this? What? It's mind blowing shit. Incredibly creative endeavor. That was something J Tro mentioned in his some of the stuff I was reading. I think it might have been a Reddit AMA he did where he was like, the budget from this like didn't quite break even, but the creative satisfaction from doing something like this is like through the roof for him. Like this was, clearly took something from his brain, made it real. Another quote from this guy that I like is, it was something along the lines of, I don't have it written down, I would rather make the worst movie ever than criticize the worst movie ever, or something like complain about the worst movie ever. And that's kind of what he says to the like people who really shit on this movie is,
well, that's very Ratatouille. That's exactly the morals at the end of Ratatouille is that people who make things are, I mean, I'm gonna like bastardize his quote, but it's like people who make things are much more impressive than the people criticizing it. I mean, that's basically what Alton Ego says.
Yeah,
and it's very true because it does take a lot of talent, even if it's something very bad. Like if you're an Ed Wood, and you make the worst movies ever made, like
Still made a fucking movie.
You made a fucking movie, and anyone who criticizes you is no one to tell you that you're any that much more of a failure.
Yeah,
because you're not a failure. You did something, and it's I can imagine I mean, you were talking about J Tro and like how this is his outlook on his own movie, correct?
That was a quote from him. It was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I resonate with it, and like I'm someone who doesn't create anything, but I will never say
except podcasts.
Yeah, boy.
But yeah, you've gotta put stuff into the world that wouldn't exist if you didn't exist. And this movie is like rare for this something like this to exist. It's the thing.
Something unique. There's nothing else like it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying. I wish I had my calendar with me right now because I could look through all the movies, but like all the movies I've seen in the past 3 years. But like I don't think you're giving like movies of today enough credit, and that they don't make movies like this anymore, because I know I've seen movies like they say and they say, I mean, sorry,
there it is, demonetized.
just edit that one part out. I'll pay you $5. But
neat.
But they do make movies. There are movies made today that are in the same spirit as this. I believe that they. What?
The point is, though, that there might be other movies in the same spirit of it, but there is no other DDR battle like.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah. When you take it literally, obviously.
Yeah, that's
you're talking about like using the N-word and stylized and independent.
Right. More neat. Just this is such a niche.
Yeah.
Movie.
Yeah, I'm vaguely aware that there's I'm sure there's a lot of projects that like take the piss out of 80s action movies that have like over the top shock value with profanity. But like you can really see, like especially preparing for this podcast, when I looked into who the Trosts were, their family growing up in Fraser Park, it's like this is just such a product of the time they grew up in and the stuff they liked, and having the beat revelation in it. That's like the unique hilarity that I'm on board. You're right. There are other projects similar to this in what they go for, but they did that one unique hilarious thing, and you can really see into their mind.
It's very personal, and you can tell.
Yeah, but I did want to ask, Marowak, you're a pretty big movie buff. I think Friggin is much more so than I am. I'm not sure, Ryan, if you're a big movie guy, but is this movie good? Like, objectively speaking, if you were to, write a review, rate it out of 10, what you think?
I think my perception of what a movie is good is different than what like the critics will say, because I don't believe in critics. Like, I don't believe that giving anything a hard rating is gonna get the point across. Point is, if a movie's good, it means you liked it.
Yeah,
and I liked it. The Fast and Furious is good. Is that to say that the movie is well considered? Is it believable? That's all like if and if that like whatever stuff, like you can get into detail, like oh my god, this movie does things that is like so unrealistic that thereby it makes it bad. Those people can have those opinions, but it doesn't mean they're right. But for me, I loved it. I wouldn't watch it like I probably won't. I might watch it like once more in the rest of my life. It didn't leave a big influence on me because it was like a pretty generic story, but it had heart and it had really good design. But you can't, no one can, not everyone can watch, appreciate it, because it does like have some serious R-rated tones, and it's also like an independent movie. People aren't going to respect it in the same vein. Although most movies that are nominated for like best movies of the year and whatnot are usually indie movies. Movies that aren't like too like they're like just above the radar, where you might see a trailer for it when you go to the movies, but you're probably not going to see because the premise is like sort of out of your comfort zone, and this is that kind of movie where you see the premise and it's like DDR, people die, Rocky movie. It's like that Rocky thing might be able to push some people over the edge, but otherwise not a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this movie. But if you're into that sort of thing, if you're into like using the N-word a lot and people using ridiculous slang and colorful costumes, and I also just realized I think that the music is actually very much video game inspired. I think they use tracks from like Final Fantasy, like remixed versions of Final Fantasy songs.
Well,
I
it was a
might be
completely
making that
original
up.
soundtrack. I did
Okay.
read that. I'm sure it's very like DDR menu music inspired. But like techno is what they were going for.
Yeah, so if like you're into all that sort of stuff, I think you're gonna really like this movie, especially if you like '80s movies. Like if you're an '80s fag, then I think you really get into this movie. This movie has things to offer you, but don't expect to watch it a second time anytime soon.
I basically agree. I would not recommend this movie to anyone unless they were interested in it conceptually. Like there are some movies that are just the integrity and like the build quality, the cinematography, blah blah blah, is just like so, and it's just so well done. Like Parasite is not something, if you told me the concept of Parasite, I wouldn't care. But the fact that the movie is done so well, like it intrigued me, and we all enjoyed that movie thoroughly. Like it doesn't matter really what it's about. It's the fact that they made a good movie. This movie, I feel like you can only enjoy this movie if the like specific things interest you. I don't think like the shots are fine. Like everything adds up, Like there's nothing, like there's no jarring scenes or anything. I personally thought the lighting was a little dark. Like it was I felt it was a little unattractive to look at.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But
there was also that scene at the shop, the thrift shop. I can kind of tell that they kind of half-assed that. Like I think, like you said before, I think it was you, Alex, that said before that it was just a tent. I think they literally just got a tent and filmed inside the tent, and the background light is just so overwhelming. It's a miracle you can see anything in the foreground.
You can see the dust dancing on the sunbeams and all that. Yeah, I don't know. I like the dark aesthetic of this because it reminds me of the arcades I've been in where I killed people in DDR battles. I kind of liked that environment, but I think it's a fair criticism for for just setting up the setting. It can be a problem.
The only other thing I would also say is the novelty of the comedic style, I feel like kind of runs dry after a while. So unless you're like really into that, it's kind of hard to like I found the movie to be a little stale after a while, and like the ending was good, but there was like a sort of middle period where it was just like it was really kind of, I was just chugging through it. I felt like Like
It's like a 90-minute version of the preview. Like if you watch the official trailer and you say, "Hell yeah, I want to watch that for 90 minutes." It's pretty much that.
It's basically like I didn't see the preview, but you make it. I'm assuming it's exactly how you said it. It's you watch the preview and you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. It's like the trailer doesn't lie to you, right? Like
Certainly not. Oh no.
yeah, and that's an important thing. If you can show someone a trailer and they know exactly what it's about from the trailer, and it turns out to be exactly what you thought, unlike the New Mutants movie that just came out, you're gonna get exactly what you paid for.
but sometimes that's not interesting because you've already seen the movie. You just watched the trailer.
I do think like if they took out the Rocky story, like I know they were inspired by Rocky and like Rambo and other action movies like that. I get that. I feel like if they had just tweaked it a little differently and didn't make the story so generic, it would actually reach a lot further. I feel because if it's as it is, as just like if you're someone who's just like what's the premise, and you're telling me, oh, it's basically Rocky but with DDR. Then it's like, well, I guess I don't have to watch it then because I just watched Rocky.
Well, the montages were some of my favorite parts.
Yeah, I love the
Montages are always
and watching the improvement of the montage, like I mentioned, he's when the CRT hooked up to the punching bag that changes from push to legit over the course of the montage. Yeah, this if you're a fan of montages, that's like the kind of thing that this movie will get you for.
Yeah, that's the other. It's not just that it's Rocky but DDR. It's also Rocky but DDR but a comedy. Like if they weren't putting joke like, I love KCDC so much. He is the funniest thing. the duck speech is legendary. What that's why you watch this movie is for the duck speech.
Yeah. There should be a movie clips of that scene alone.
Top 10 greatest cinematic monologues of all time.
So I'll say this about the movie. I completely agree. It's one of those like watch the trailer and that would probably be enough that like if you watch the trailer and like, heck yeah, this looks awesome. Absolutely go see the movie. If you watch the trailer and you're like, this looks stupid as hell, you might not enjoy it. If you're like me, who is sort of in the middle ground and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into with this movie, watching it like 1.2% speed, trims it down to just a little over an hour, and
okay, did everyone use the same link, by the way?
Yeah, dude, those fucking ads, holy shit.
No, okay, that's one thing, but
YouTube Premium.
My problem with this movie, and it has nothing to do with the movie, is that I could not watch it with subtitles. I wanted those subtitles so bad, so I can actually like read what they're saying, because I couldn't hear some things because like the audio is just a little too low, just for basic conversations, and I just wanted to know what the fuck are they saying. Like I get the gist from the body language and the words that I do hear. I know what's going on, but god damn it, I want to hear these people saying these words. I want to know what they're saying.
Yeah, and they're using like crazy made up slang. That was one thing that they kind of like rushed and were a little quiet on some of the lines, especially in the beginning. That's a minor problem.
Is there like an actual like DVD release of this or something? Just so we can get Marowak his subs.
Oh, it's got Blu-ray, I'm sure.
There's you can buy the official version on YouTube. So that might have subs. I don't know.
We gotta just like email them, be like, hey, I want those subs.
Yeah,
I want the behind the scenes Blu-ray interview and shit.
I want a medium wheat with lettuce, tomato, onion.
I want a BLT.
Gotta get those subs, dude.
Gotta get that street cred. All right. Well, I'm pretty tapped out on topics. I think we can. If anyone else has anything else to say, might not be a bad place to wind down.
Did you finish your analysis, friggin'?
Yeah. Just that I would not say this is a bad movie at all. I wouldn't say it's a great movie either. It's a good movie. Like I said, literally, I just completely agree with. Watch the trailer, and that will tell you whether or not you think this is for you.
Yep.
Oh, it is on Blu-ray and on DVD.
Oh,
there you go. Go get it. Get those subtitles.
Yeah, it actually was released like the same time it was released in 2012, so you could have gotten it in 2012.
Is there any like director cut interviews behind the scenes?
A special edition collector's booklet with introductions by Rob Zombie, Brian Taylor, and Mark Neveldine. 4 special editions were made available for purchase on Draft House Films' website, all of which contain Holdcraft's soundtrack and a 720 HD digital download. Additional items sold include a Blu-ray DVD copy of the film, a poster signed by Trost Brothers.
Ooh.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Oh, and a tampon in a glass tube signed by the Trost.
Dude,
we missed out.
These guys
We
are
missed out.
committed to the bit.
I definitely. I was gonna say that although we were talking about like the behind the scenes things, and I was gonna say I don't like as much as cool as it is to know some of the behind the scenes lore of this movie. It's definitely not something that's necessary. But after reading that, I completely changed my mind. You need to know that. Viewers, consider yourself blessed that you have just heard those words come out of my mouth. The fact that there is a signed copy of a tampon.
Well,
By
you
the
caught
brothers.
that bit from the movie, right, where Stacy's digging in the sand in the playground.
Yeah, that literally made no.
Oh, that was a tampon, right? Okay.
Yeah, so KCDC or whoever gives him a tampon earlier, and then he gives it to her. It's a romantic moment.
It's great.
Oh my
Aw.
god!
Alright,
Yeah,
can we wrap up? I gotta pee.
let's wrap up. There you
Okay.
go, people. That's it. We'll go out on
watch
the
it.
tampon. If the preview
I love
puts your
you.
interest, watch it. And that's Crash content for today. Bye.
Bye.